Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitangscha Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pango Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Sri Gurun Dinatarinam Adadanas Dantayar Idam Jache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambo Jadulisham Janma Janmani Guru Gaur Gandhara Govindam Gringanai Saha Mande Prasadato Yesham Sabaranga Subhankara Gaura Bhag Vigraham Vande Gaurangam Gaura Vaibhavam Gaura Sankirtanomitam Gaura Karunya Sundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Ruchavritam Nityam Nomi Navadipe Nama Kirtananartani Srimad Prabhupadam Boja Madhupevyo Namo Namaha Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himavadivyacha Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So reading from transcriptions of Srila Guru Maharaj, he says, Shraddha gives us the company of the Lord according to its degree and intensity of quality. It not only takes us to God, but keeps us there. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, when we use this word Shraddha, what does it mean? It's most often rendered as faith, but then how do we define faith? How does he define faith? He says, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasako He Sudrida Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That everything, all belief, everything fixed on this one thing. And by believing in this one thing, that everything is achieved. Like the unified field theory, that the thing that unites everything, what did I like to say? Badanti tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabhyate. That's the unified field. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. What is the Bhagavatam, Vedanta, Upanishads assert consistently, thematically, Yasmin Vigyate Sarvam Eva Vigyatam Bhavati. Yasmin sarvamidam praptam bhavati, etc. Saying, try for that one thing upon knowing which everything is known. Right? That's what's being defined as faith. Saying that one thing, that coming in connection with that, you believe everything will be achieved. Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Everything will be done, everything will be achieved by that. You don't need any separate interest or to modify this with any other thing. Like in the end of the Bhagavatam, it says, Brahma Katma Kaivalya Prayojanam. So it seems, by one reading of this, after Sukadev Pariksit, now the time has come for the snake bird, and it appears on a superficial reading to say, and at that time he merged into the one. You understand? Brahma Aikat, Kaivalya, he achieved the ultimate oneness. Will be the reading of the Mayavadis. But Guru Maharaj heard Srila Saraswati Thakur explaining this very section, and he said, Kaivalya means don't mix anything. It's not mixed with any other thing. It's not saying oneness as it's conventionally understood in Vedanta philosophy. But he's saying, because in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, it was defined, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavatam. This one thing to be known has three aspects. All accommodating, Brahma, again, thematically consistent with the Upanishads, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan, smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. So Brahman, all accommodating Brahman. That's why, as a side note, sidebar, footnote, Brahman-based philosophies appear to accommodate everything because that's the nature of Brahman. Right? So greater than the great, all accommodating Brahman, greater than the greatest. That's one extreme of the infinite. What's the other extreme? Anoraniyan, andantastam, andantarastam, paramanu chayantarasam. Andantarastam, paramanu chayantarastam. Meter helps us. Paramanu means atomic. So smaller than the smallest, all permeating everything, all pervading, all permeating in that sense. So these are the extremes of the infinite. And it's announced in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. But then what? Bhagavan. Right? And what does Bhagavan mean proper? The Krishna in the company of his Shakti. Without Shakti, it's not Bhagavan proper. Understand? If there's no acknowledgement of her, then acknowledging him is suspect. Right? Or in the words of Guru Maharaj referring to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur, saying what they call fictitious devotion. Right? So much talk about Krishna, mad in praise of Krishna, but not acknowledging his Shakti, who the beloved of Krishna, Achyuta-priya, right? Krishna-priya, Sakshad Hari Tenastamastra Shastre. Oh, the Shastra is telling us, Krishna, Sakshad Hari, he's directly, that Guru is to be seen as Krishna. Acharya mam vijaniyat. Right? Navamanyeta karchid. Namartya Buddha Suyeta Sarvadeva Mayoguru. Sakshad Hari Tenastamastra Shastre Uktastatabav Jateva Sadhi. It says, Kintu, but, we're going to say, if that caught your imagination or attention, so you're feeling like, oh, so really the absolute is descending in relative circumstance and the agency of Guru. So really it's Krishna dealing with me. Right? So, but he's saying, but then look closer. Kintu, and what will you see? Kintu Prabhuya, Prabhu Priya. You'll see that a shift takes place from seeing Krishna and Guru to whom? Prabhu Priya, the one who is most dear to Krishna. That is why the generic Guru pranam, right? Namam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna-preshtha, Krishna-preshtha. Right? Elsewhere, Das Goswami, Mukunda-preshtha, the one who's most dear to Krishna. A shift, then we say, well, every December, well, my Guru is most dear to Krishna. And Guru Maharaj will say, like, a child will say, my mommy is the best mommy ever. And they have a right to say that. But Guru Maharaj, who's always telling us like sobering truth, and he'll say, but this will not be judged, the standard of motherhood will not be judged according to the loving eye of their child. Right? He said there's an absolute standard of motherhood by which mothers will be judged. So there's guru and their disciples and their way of seeing them. He's saying, but tatastha vichar means an impartial look. Just as in Ramananda-samvad, which is where that comes from, it's really quoting Rupa Goswami, saying all the rasas are wonderful and tasteful, and as Saraswati Thakur would say when they would give him prasadam, they want to know Prabhupada which preparation he liked the most. And he would say, each one tastes better than the other one. It was kind of, we could say, a diplomatic answer, but also there's some, he's saying, when you're tasting this, you can't imagine anything better than that until you taste this, and you're tasting this and say, I can't imagine anything tasting better than that. And that's the truth, that it can be true at the same time. That is the point. So in Ramananda-samvad, which is all about gradation, which is thematically Guru Maharaj's ontological method, go deeper, dive deep into reality. What does that mean? That means there's different levels of reality. There's different levels, even in the absolute world. So there, what's being said in verse, Jarje Rase Hoi Se Sarutam, whatever, what to speak of taste of this world, whatever rasa one is tasting, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, whichever one they're tasting, they think, this is the best. What could possibly be better than this? And considering that Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Murti, right? He's the one who's delivering this taste, reciprocating this taste. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita ritsaroja ase shrutekshita pato nanunata pungsang yad yadya tarurugaya vivavayanti. But saying, according to the devotion in the heart of the devotee, Krishna reciprocates that. That's why there's different Krishnas in a sense, and Krishna behaving differently in different circumstances. Right? Why does it say at the Ratha Yatra that like Baladev, when he, Nityananda, when he looks and he sees not only Radha, the mood that Mahaprabhu, he's in the mood of Radharani before Jagannath, but he sees sometimes like he's become Radharani. And then we'll say, Nityananda keeps his distance. Why? Because if he comes before him, if Mahaprabhu sees Nityananda, he won't keep that. He'll reciprocate Nityananda, what's in the heart of Nityananda, and so with so many others. That's, again, another reason why the devotees are fanatics and exclusive in their devotion to Srimati Radharani. Really, I mean, in one sense, if you look at it impartially, you can say it's as almost a strategy. They realize no one can extract more rasa from Krishna than her. So why would you want to promote anyone else? Right? And if the magnitude of the quality and quantity of rasa that she can draw from Krishna, being his, the better half of the sweet absolute, reaches, we could say, an infinite magnitude, and any other magnitude is finite in comparison, then it would only make sense to promote her to Krishna. Right? But I'm just saying that from a point of view of analysis, but it's actually that the devotees are so dedicated to her that they have so much love, affection, that they're predisposed to that. But the experts can say, by analysis, nothing can compare to what she is able to extract from Krishna. You just think of that. His equal, that she is Krishna's equal. His, Saraswati Thakur's word, predominating moiety. Moiety means half. Predominating moiety, Krishna, predominated moiety, Radha, Sri Radhika. So, and when we mention Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, if you think like, oh, all accommodating Brahma, from our point of view, and we think, oh, that sounds like the infinite, right? Then if someone a little more refined, no, but within everything. So that's a little more refined and stuff. Then we say, oh, but you said Bhagavan proper is when he's in the company of his Shakti, Shakti and Shaktiman. So, shall we say like, so Brahman, this level, Paramatma, another level, and then a little bit more? No, the other day, reading Srila Prabhupada, his purport, he said, what is the localized aspect compared with if we take, there's the sun, right? And the magnitude of what's going on in the sun, and there's the sunlight in your room, right? So is the sunlight in the sun planet, there, is that just marginally more than the sunlight in your room? Or could we say it's infinitely more in terms of it? It's like inconceivably more than that. So that's what I mean to say when we think like, so Paramatma, then Bhagavan, no. Paramatma is the localized aspect, like the sunlight in your room, the localized aspect in your heart. The infinite, the incomparable infinite magnitude of Krishna in terms of personality, beauty, charm, sweetness, love, affection, reciprocal capacity. That the, prati anga lage kande prati anga more. That we're saying he's Akhila Rasamrita Murti, reciprocating what's in the heart of the devotee. Well, how many devotees are there? Right? We know in this world there's not many. But, Sangsara men kanadapi satsanga, but there's another one, loka, sudurlabha bhagavata hi loke. In this world, very rare. But Guru Maharaj would say, that's this world. There's this other world where everyone is a devotee. And that's the main world, not this one. This is, the penal colony, so to speak, right? But the vast majority of society are free moving citizens, right? So, so how does Krishna do that? How can he reciprocate what's in the heart of every devotee uniquely in one of these 5 different relationships and simultaneously, right? So sometimes, I've mentioned, like a woman in this world, she can be a daughter, a sister, a friend, the wife, mother, even so there's 5 right there. So let's say those are 5, and those are 5 loving relationships that she's involved in. And say she's in the room with those 5 people. Does she get confused? Like if one minute is talking to her husband, then she's talking to her child. Is she confused? Is she like, wait, hold it, I can't handle all this love right now. Sometimes women do say that. But generally speaking, they can handle it. They're known for multitasking. So you could say Krishna is the ultimate multitasking absolute. So not only can he carry on 5 relationships at a time without getting confused, but with an infinite number of recipients. And as Guru Maharaj would say, and the absolute must not be anything less than that. Of course he's like that. Like Guru Maharaj said about going to the spiritual world. He said, it's not like the immigration quotas that they have in certain countries. They say, well, we can only take in a certain amount of people right now. So Krishna, the absolute, he's reciprocating. He's like right now, he's reciprocating an infinite number of relationships. So we have to put a hold on new applicants to the spiritual world. That's not Krishna. He's doing all of these things simultaneously, and all the different Krishnas, and by that, what do I mean? Rama, Nrsinga, the Das avatars, Ram-lila, Krishna-lila, Gaur-lila, this all going on simultaneously, right? And it's the example is given by Mahaprabhu himself. And I just like to remind everyone who Mahaprabhu is. He's Krishna. So when he says something, it has like extra value, right? It's extra value when Krishna as Mahaprabhu is saying something, because that's factoring in all the Vedas, all the Puranas, all the revealed truth that there is. That Krishna himself comes here so recently and is telling you, here's from all of that ocean of Veda, what do they call it sometimes? Katha-sagar? It's funny that some people thought it meant like ocean stories, tales from the sea. That's not what it means. It means an ocean of katha, right? So of all that, like when we talk, one book, remember Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when Mahaprabhu is giving Rupa Shiksha's instructions to Rupa Goswami, he's saying the length and breadth of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is infinite. Right? He said, but I'm going to take a drop from that infinite ocean and explain that to you. And that's the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the book on devotion. So I just mean to say, so when Mahaprabhu says something, it's just, infinitely added value to that, especially in the present context. Because are we supposed to go through all these different Vedic literatures and extract from there according to our capacity and ability? Actually, Mahaprabhu's devotees did that. Right? Nana shastra vicharanai kunipano sadharma sangstapaka. Shastra-nipun are the 6 Goswamis. They did that. And what did Saraswati Thakur say about Guru Maharaj? What did he call him? Shastra-nipun. Same thing. Means who's expert in extracting from the scripture, which is actually the achinotiya shastrartam, the qualification for acharya proper. So Mahaprabhu tells, it could be Sanatan Shiksha if it's not Rupa. Anyway, he says, as the sun rises and it achieves noon, then sunset. He's saying, from some perspective, like now, as we're doing this on Zoom, in some places, right, now here it's dark, and another place it's like the sun is rising, somewhere else it's noon, somewhere else it's setting. Well, here it just set, right? So if you time this, or got enough participants on, they could, and they started reporting what they're seeing. Someone could say, and truthfully, right, say, oh, we're seeing the most beautiful sunrise. Someone else at the exact same moment, no, Prabhu, what we're seeing is the most incredible sunset. Someone else saying, it's midnight, it's pitch black. Someone else, oh, the hot noon sun is overhead. So they're saying that all simultaneously, right? So he's giving this as an example. This is just the sun within this world. So just to take it further, that means at some point, right, sunrise can be perceived at every moment, as sunset can be perceived at every moment and every other phase in between. So one sun, according to where people are situated, their perspective, this is what they're seeing. So he's giving that as an example about Krishna-lila, but it's equally applicable to how Krishna's reciprocating all these different loving relationships simultaneously. Right? Oh, and so what I wanted to say, we said, Kintu prabhoya priya eva tasya bande guru Sri Charanarvindam. The shift to Krishna's potency. Guru Maharaj's example, he's saying like how to balance these two things. Look, and also, just know, Chakravarti Thakur, in one sloka, this is what's coming out. What's, 1 out of 8. Right? How much is there? So Guru Maharaj says, like Everest, back to what we're saying about if you focus on him without her, from the greatest distance, you can see Everest, the highest peak. So seeing that, focused on that, you make your approach. Right? But Guru Maharaj will say, but the proof positive that you're going in the right direction and coming nearer to Everest is understood when you come in connection with the subordinate peaks surrounding Everest. That's the proof that you're getting to Everest. You understand? So the subordinate, those who are surrounding, that means there's Krishna, there Radharani and her group. The proof that you're going in the right direction with Krishna conception is when you start coming in connection with her assistants, friends, assistants, etc. Right? So, so he said, gives us the company of the Lord according to the degree and intensity of quality. So, as the Brajamandal Parikrama is coming up, and also, the manifestation of Sri Radha Kunda. Right? So, the Upadeshamritam begins with Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Uropasta Vegam, etc. About control of the tongue, the mind, etc. It culminates, that's where it begins. People like to sort of jump ahead. It ends with, bathing in the divine waters of Radha Kunda. So sometimes people are jumping forward to that and forgetting wait, to get there, we have to go back to verse 1 where it's saying, if you're, and Guru Maharaj will say this too, it's in the book, if the tongue is not controlled, none of the other senses are controlled. That's what it says. So anyway, it begins there, but by the time it reaches this ultimate expression, so then people think, then I want to go jump in the holy waters of Sri Radha Kunda. And Guru Maharaj will say, Srila Saraswati Thakur said, that is not conventional water, like of this world. He's saying, what is Radha Kunda? Guru Maharaj said in another place, Srimati Radharani in liquid form. Who is she? The supreme personification of self-sacrifice to Krishna. So he said, so to bathe in those waters means to bathe in that plane of self-sacrifice. So when Guru Maharaj says, according to the degree and intensity of the quality, right, then that means from generic belief in God up to these very high things. So again, Srila Guru Maharaj has a, how would you say, like a maxim where he says, according to one's inner necessity and sincere hankering for truth, one will necessarily come in connection with a certain level of theistic conception and subsequent association. That covers everything. To generic theistic systems other than Krishna consciousness, within Krishna consciousness, the Vaikuntha world, which is the southern hemisphere of the spiritual world, up to the top. What did he say again? According to one's inner necessity, one's heart's inner necessity, not what we find fanciful. Like when we're Krishna-nushilana. Right? What is favorable to Krishna consciousness? Very often, by we could say devotees of the more newly recruited, means what they like to do in Krishna consciousness. Krishna-nushilana means, like what's favorable. Yeah, oh, I like that. Yeah, I like to do that. I told Tirtha Maharaj, Srila Bhakti-Vilas Tirtha Maharaj had a son in his former ashram. And this boy's idea of the spiritual world was like swimming, diving in a swimming pool full of rasgolas. So he was saying like, he would be there in this nectarine's world and then a rasgola would, like he's just like, that's the spiritual world, And Krishna, Guru Maharaj will say, Krishna is not a sweet ball to be devoured by you in one gulp. Right? So Krishna-nushilana doesn't mean what we like to do in Krishna consciousness. Right? But as Gurudev said, quoting another verse, that Niveditatma Vichikirsitome, there's all these lines in Sanskrit, 4 lines in the verse, and Srila Gurudev said, very nice, he said, what is this verse saying? Give Krishna what he wants. That's what it means. He said, that's what it's telling you. Give him what he wants. He said, if he wants a samosa, give him a samosa. Whatever he wants, you give him that. Right? Krishna-nushilana, and Atma Samarpana means transferring to what is pleasing to Krishna. Right? That becomes the pleasure of the devotee. So she personifies this, right, as ultimately expressed in the 8th sloka, Shikshastakam asli shiva parvatam panastumam adarshanam marmahatam karotu va yatatata bhavadadatu lampato vat prana nattastu sa eva napara. Where she's saying, if what pleases Krishna, is heartbreaking to me, that is my happiness. She can say that and feel it and mean it. We can hear that in awe and wonder. But so she says, adarshanam. We're always talking about darshan. What is Srimati Radharani saying? And it's Mahaprabhu echoing the sentiments from adarshanam. We're on the other side. She's saying, if it pleases Krishna not to reveal himself to me, I'm happy with that. And interesting, that's so high, but actually that is the it is also applicable to us in a peculiar way. Because if we're honest, that is our position. Right? So, and Guru Maharaj would say, has said, that, and I'll put it this way, it's not that he said, like, if you think that you're Krishna conscious, because other people will tell us that we are, right? They'll say, oh, you're a devotee of Krishna? Right? You're in the Krishna consciousness mode, right? You're a follower of Krishna. You know? Right? But Guru Maharaj said, if you think that you're Krishna conscious, or he doesn't say, that's unhealthy, or won't, you know, he said, you're finished. That's what he said. Real devotees don't think that way. So, and he said, and this echoes the sentiments expressed by Madhavendra Puri in one of his verses, Mugdam mam nigidanta nipti nipana vaidika brantam muhur vaidika, right? He's saying, basically, it's a list of saying, let the world say I'm crazy, I joined a cult, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm young, I'm immature, I'm foolish, I'm misguided, misdirected, it's against all good sense, it's against the Vedas. He has a list of everything you could say in opposition to the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. But then he takes it a level further, and he says, you can add to that, because, in other words, so I gave up the world and everyone and everything in it to pursue Krishna consciousness. I've gone against the current of the world to do this. Right? Forsaken everyone and everything in the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. And then he adds this to it, he said, and add to it that I didn't achieve Krishna consciousness. Because it was one thing if you're saying, like, I gave up the world and everyone and everything in it and I got Krishna consciousness. He says, no, add to that I didn't achieve Krishna consciousness. But understand this, I'm not going to budge an inch from my aspiration to achieve Krishna consciousness. You understand? In essence, he's saying, I did not get that, but I have no other interest. Nothing will, what do you say? Deter me from this pursuit. So Guru Maharaj said, if you can admit that after all, whatever in this, how much energy, your life you've invested, and you can just honestly say, but as yet, I'm not Krishna conscious. Right? He said, but you have no other interest, no other pursuit, you won't be deterred in the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. Then Guru Maharaj very generously, graciously said, you might just be a devotee. You might. So, adarshanam, he's saying, he's not revealing himself to me. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, a devotee may say, after all this chanting, and you're like, why doesn't Krishna, reveal himself to me? By chant, we're told, Nama Chintamani, so many slokas about the holy name of Krishna, and the devotee may say, like, I'm doing that, according to my capacity. I've sometimes said, mumbling some semblance of, Krishna Nam or Namabhas, that's another thing. But just to take it at face value, he said, Krishna could, that's his answer. He said, but he knows you're capable of doing better. And then he said, he's addicted to a particular quality of heart, and when that is there, he cannot resist. But until that quality of heart is there, he can resist. Right? Ahoy tukiya pratyata means causeless and irresistible on both sides. Right? So that's why the higher devotees, if something's coming to them, their default position is to resist that, knowing that genuine Krishna consciousness is irresistible. Right? So they resist, saying, I am suspect, how can something so wonderful come to me? They're resisting that. In the case that it's irresistible, it may be Krishna consciousness. Right? Like Srila Gurudev in the last period of his manifest pastimes, he said, so many wonderful ecstatic things were coming to him, and he felt that it was undeserved. Or like, why, like that was bothering him on a certain level. And I thought, oh, like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when Dwaraka's fanning Krishna and becomes stunned, and that's, stamba, that's a type of ecstasy. According to Rupa Goswami's analysis, he's cursing the ecstasy because it's interfering with his service. And the other example he gives of Srimati Radharani, her tears are blurring, and her ecstatic condition, the tears are blurring her vision of Krishna. They're ecstatic tears. I mean, they're tears from the eyes of Srimati Radharani. That alone is inconceivable. But it's interfering with her seeing Krishna, so she's cursing that. She's not enjoying that or wanting more. It's a disturbance to her. Right? So, resistance, irresistible. And then Guru Maharaj said, and it is possible that all the time, the whole time, 24 hours engagement is possible in the service of God through Shraddha. God is inconceivable faith and the remotest goodness, that becomes practical in our life. And I was mentioning earlier that he says, ambition, aspiration, goodwill, hope, everything reaches there in its finest and highest form. In other words, our innate hankerings are all satisfied, perfectly satisfied. What does it say in the first verse of the Shikshastakam? Purnamrita Shvadanam, Cheto Darpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipatam Purnamrita Shvadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. No other hankering remains. Gita, yam labha chaparam labham mandite nadikam tataha. In the so-called Samadhi chapter, in the 6. When you've achieved this, you think there's no greater gain. Rather, sometimes cannot tolerate so much grace, so much ecstasy. And we mentioned this verse before that appears numerous times in the thing, Bhagavatam, Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, Madhya Lila, Madhya Lila, Antya-lila. And it's worth repeating. Evaṁ-vrataḥ sva-priya-nāma-kīrtyā jatanu-rago drita-chitta ucce hasatyato rodati roti gayatyunmadan nritati loka bhaja. So, and we mentioned this before, but then Guru Maharaj concluded by saying, but where the public is awake, they cannot reach there. Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pashuto mune. So I think that position of the devotees, ordinary people take it to be madness, and vice versa. The devotees, they have no interest in the how do you say, the world of mind of ordinary people. Like when some devotees were visiting Gaurakishor Das Babaji Maharaj, and we've heard he's executing his bhajan in a place that was formerly an outhouse. So when they came there, they found this peculiar, perplexing, and they're saying, Babaji Maharaj, how can you tolerate that? You know, perhaps some lingering from another, you know. And Babaji Maharaj's answer, he said, that is external, that is nothing. He said, how can you tolerate the stench of the mentality of the people that you associate with? That he found intolerable. But this external, that's nothing. Right? Yanisha sarvabhutana, awake in one plane, one group, asleep in another. But then Guru Maharaj said, but there's also imitation. And he tells the story of a research scholar who was in Hawaii, who he was studying the sky, like an astronomer or something. And basically, this is in World War II, he told the Japanese when the Navy was there, and that's how they bombed it. So they had this spy placed there. So Guru Maharaj said, so in the garb of research, really he was a spy. So Guru Maharaj said, imitation can be so dangerous. As a research scholar, he's indifferent to the world interests. He's researching. But this poison was within him to betray his own country. Under the garb of scholarship, innocent research, knowledge, there was this sort of poison. And we see sometimes devotees, they think like, oh, they're going to study Sanskrit and Bengali, and they're, you know, in the name of doing seva, they're going to do these things as a service to the, and then what do you say? And the garb of scholarship, innocent research, knowledge, there was this sort of poison. We were talking about this the other day, about education. And so one girl was visiting the Mott from the University of San Francisco. And Guru Maharaj is just being polite, like, oh, and what are you studying? You know, she says like, philosophy. And Guru Maharaj said, oh, diving deep into ignorance. Like it would be better to just stop with a survey course, you know, just to know a little bit about, enough to navigate the mundane. But he's saying, you know, diving deep. And another gentleman who was doing advanced scholarly research, etc. Guru Maharaj detected this in him all along. Every day he's asking so many questions, but it's along a particular line of thought. And so Guru Maharaj said to him one day, he goes, are you ready to admit that knowledge is poison? And there was just silence. And Guru Maharaj went, ha, not yet. But he doesn't exempt himself. Guru Maharaj, remember, a Sanskrit-speaking household in Hapania, and you know, his aunties speaking Sanskrit, because Guru Maharaj, imagine him as a boy. And there are people who really loved him when he was a boy. There was one man who used to carry Guru Maharaj around on his shoulders. He was like, he loved Guru Maharaj so much. Was not a direct relative, like just someone in the village, but. So, and Guru Maharaj was set to live with one of his aunties for a year or two or something. And so, being put under her care, she noticed some anti-female spirit in him. Right? He's like 10 or something, you know. And she said to him, you know, like, young man, I detect some, you know, that you don't understand properly the position of ladies. And Guru Maharaj said, like, I have read certain things in the scriptures. You know. And then, remember, these women know Sanskrit too. So she quotes some verse that says that all women should be seen as Lakshmi Devi. and seeing that Guru Maharaj, he's regulated by shastric thought. Guru Maharaj said, when I heard that, he said, I had to readjust my position. He's saying that at 10. So anyway, and I mentioned this before, that Guru Maharaj, when he's like around 12, or no, his friend was, he's 10, a friend shows him a picture of Gaur and Nityananda, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gaur, and says, they say, that Nam Sankirtan is the ultimate thing. Nam Sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam pranamo dukkha samanas tan namami harim param. And what does Guru Maharaj say? He goes, do they know Siddhanta? Gaur and Nityananda. And the man goes, yes. And Guru Maharaj said, they know Siddhanta, and they say that Nam Sankirtan is the highest? That captured him. Like that he had to take seriously. So, and I even said to him, I said, you're always talking about gyana-shunya-bhakti, right? Knowledge-free devotion. Like he will say, Krishna likes to surround himself with ignorant people. What? You said that Vrindavan, that is for the highest section of liberated souls. Kotishvapi Mahamune. What was the verse? Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana. So, Koti karma, Koti mukta durlabh madhye ek Krishna bhakta. And he likes to surround himself with ignorant people. Krishna? And what does he mean? Gyana-shunya-bhaktas. Their rag, anurag, the love and flow of prema from their hearts is not constrained or obstructed by Aishwarja Gyan, knowledge of Krishna's majestic aspect or divinity. That's what he means. They're not ignorant people. Gyana-shunya-bhakti, Yashoda saying, the people who say that Gopal is God, those are vicious rumors. She's ready to punish those people. I said, well, wait, aren't we the people trying to tell people that Krishna is supreme? Then there's another plane where that could get a slap from Ma Yashoda. How dare you? He's my son. Why you all say all these things? He's a deva, he's deva, he's Devendra. Right? I just had to say that. That means the king, So that's what he means. So gyana-shunya-bhakti, right? That's gyana-priyasa-mudapasa-namanta eva, by Mahaprabhu. What's first acceptable by Mahaprabhu in the Ramananda-samvad from Brahma, the Chaturmukh Brahma. Stop trying to understand, measure him with your mind and your intellect. That's why faith is everything. What was the, it's Narottam or Bhakti, Shraddha, Sakala Chariyabai Shraddha Devi Gunagai. It's very beautiful. Sakala Chariyabai. Give up everything, my dear brother. Sakala Chariyabai Shraddha Devi Gunagai. And sing the glories of Shraddha Devi. That's the way Krishna is revealed. So Guru Maharaj, this is what I said to him, like shastra-nipun, I said, you're always talking about gyana-shunya-bhakti, knowledge-free devotion, gyana-karmadhyana-vratam, anukulyana krishna-anushilanam bhakti-ratama. I said, but Saraswati Thakur said of you, Sridhara sakalam beti. Sridhar knows everything. I said, so you who are always singing the glories of gyana-shunya-bhakti, but you know everything, not only you know so much, you know everything. And when I said that, it was a little light, but Guru Maharaj, he was like he'd been caught. For a second. And he went, when gyan is, knowledge is serving Krishna, he said, then it's in its rightful position. And that's the answer. You know. So that, then that Guru Maharaj said, so when he, come back to knowledge is poison, when he came to Gaudiya Math, and he said this, it's like he's getting hammered on the head by Saraswati Thakur about gyana-shunya-bhakti. And who's saying this? Arguably the greatest scholar of the last 100, 200 years. Right? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who accepts as his Gurudev someone who's functionally illiterate, as if to make a point. And he said, and I found all spiritual knowledge in one of the toenails, the moon-like illuminating toenails of his holy lotus feet. I found all knowledge there. Right? This is meant to break us of this addiction. Right? So Guru Maharaj said, he's being hammered with, gyana-shunya-bhakti. And, but he came to this understanding. Knowledge in the service, okay, in devotional service, then it's in its rightful position. But otherwise, misleading. Hare Krishna. And just to conclude. There was this sort of poison. So Sahajya imitationists and others are there. And the garb of goodwill, godliness, and so many things, heinous things may be concealed within. Hare Krishna. No Shraddha, but displaying Shraddha, displaying some faith. So we shall be most careful about the company we keep. That company, which is so valuable, indispensably valuable, there also we shall have to be very cautious in our selection of association. Association is the be-all and end-all important. But the selection of association, our real fortune depends there. So, good association, good company is the most valuable thing in the world. The most valuable thing is a good companion. And there's that, Sudurlabha Bhagavata Hiloke. It's the Hari Bhakti Surodaya. Then Satsanga Sevadirninam Sangsaresman Kanardopi Satsanga Sevadirnitam. That's the Bhagavatam Navayogendras. So we'll just stop there. And just to cap that, sadhu, and how benefit, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, labhamatra, labhamatra, sadhu sange, sarva siddhi hoy. A moment's association with the highest quality of sadhu can give everything. And that we experience at the lotus feet of Srila Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.